We are hearing introduction to SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. Yesterday we heard there is a difference between Ishvar, controller, and Parameshwar, Supreme Lord, or Param Satyam, Supreme Truth. Because in other Puranas, Vyasadeva wrote according to the eligibility qualification of Jivas, either Tamasic or Rajasic. There he spoke someplace Shiva is Supreme God. In Rajasic, Brahma is Supreme. And in Sattvic Puranas, it is clearly that Vishnu is Supreme, Brahma and Shiva are his subordinate. And especially in Bhagavatam is very clear. So first, yesterday, Sai Maharaj wanted to make this, that opening of Bhagavatam is to know about who is the ultimate source, or Parameshwar, Supreme Lord. All demigods, they also have some powers. They are controllers, they are Ishvars. They have some powers, but they are getting their power from Supreme Lord. They are subordinate to him. So here, the words Janma Dyasya suggest that the source of all production, maintenance, or destruction is the same Supreme Conscious Person. Even in our present experience, we can know that nothing is generated from inert matter, but inert matter can be generated from the living entity. But atheists, they cannot even understand or accept this fact. They think life is coming from matter, but it is just the opposite. Life creates matter. And our Gurudev used to tell that conscious beings, they attribute materiality to matter. You will not see some glass, a microphone, say, I am microphone, because it's inert. But conscious beings, they will say, this is microphone, this is glass. So they impart materiality to matter. So matter has got no independent existence of its own. But only those who realize the souls, they can see how this is done. For instance, by contact with the living entity, the material body develops into a working machine. Men with a poor fund of knowledge mistake the bodily machinery to be the living being, but the fact is that the living being is the basis of the bodily machine. The bodily machine is useless as soon as the living spark is away from it. And our Gurudev used to explain that we see some thinking, feeling, and willing in one living entity as long as Atma is present. But when Atma goes away, then you cannot get any knowledge from the dead body of your mathematics teacher, for example. And there are no desires and no decisions by that body. If you bring that body to voting booth, they will not accept. But if someone is very sick, but still life is in him, he can cast vote because he can decide. So thinking, feeling, willing, they are attributes of Atma. As long as Atma is present, we see this. And Sat Chit Ananda, also happiness. When some child is there, everyone is getting happiness from him and they are decorating. But immediately when Atma leaves, no one gets any happiness from that body. So Satchidananda and thinking, feeling, willing are the attributes of Atma. One time in Chandigarh, our Nishkinchan Maharaj, god brother of our Gurudev, we were speaking in his room and about this self and all this. Then he said, if I pinch you with this pin, then you will say, ow. But if Atma goes away, then there will be no sound, because feeling is of Atma. As long as Atma is present, then that will be there. And our Urmila also asked Nishkinchan Maharaj why in Mahabharata there is a very vivid description of how people are killed. Cut their hand, leg, very minutely described. Why is such description there in spiritual books? Then Nishkinchan Maharaj said it is for a certain reason, to test us whether we understood that we are not this body is only the container of this soul. So if we become disturbed hearing or reading such descriptions, we get pain. Means we did not come to realize that we are not this body. For that reason, it is there. So, Deho and Dehi. So, as we see, when Atma leaves, then that body is useless and it will decompose and cannot speak anything. So, similarly, the original source of all material energy is the Supreme Person. This fact is expressed in all the Vedic literatures, and all the exponents of spiritual science have accepted this truth. The living force is called Brahman, and one of the greatest acharyas or teachers, namely Sripad Shankaracharya, has preached that Brahman is substance, whereas the cosmic world is category. The original source of all energies is the living force, and he, H capital, is logically accepted as the Supreme Person. He is therefore conscious of everything, past, present and future, and also of each and every corner of his manifestations, both material and spiritual. He knows everything. Dhruva asked his mother, because mother told, you are getting that same suffering as you did to someone else before. That same you are getting. Then Dhruva said, I did not do any such activity. He was 5 years old and he said, I did not. Then she said, no, you had many lives, millions of lives, and Supreme Lord knows everything. In some birth you did this. Now you are getting the fruit. She is only instrumental. If you blame, then you will not get the grace of Supreme Lord. Our Gurudev said, no one can do any action without Krishna knowing. We may cheat ordinary people, but we cannot deceive or cheat Krishna. He knows, he sees everything, and he's the giver of fruit. There is no mistake, because he's everywhere, he's within, and he is everything. So he and also of each and every corner of his manifestations, both material and spiritual. That is why we may cheat many people in this world. But there are many other witnesses. Ultimate witness of everything is Krishna. He knows everything, who did what. And there are other witnesses also. Earth, sun, water, air. So when we will give up this body, then we will be taken to Yamaraj. If we are not devotees of Krishna, then Yamaraj will show us everything, what we did. And according to those actions, we will get the fruit, suffering, and all this. So we cannot cheat anyone. And no one is innocent, and there is no injustice actually. Everyone is reaping the fruits of their own action. We see injustice. He is innocent, he is aggressor, he is all this, but it is not so. Everyone is getting, by the will of Krishna, that result. An imperfect living being does not even know what is happening within his own personal body. He eats his food but does not know how this food is transformed into energy or how it sustains his body. When a living being is perfect, he is aware of everything that happens. And since the Supreme Person is all perfect, it is quite natural that he knows everything in all detail, because he made everything. And he is always existing. He is all perfect. And his personal associates are also perfect. They're always existing. So we should not be discouraged. We are seeing in this world that sometimes knowledge is becoming deteriorated, degraded, and some practices and like this, and we are not finding, but actually perfection always exists. Krishna is perfect, and his personal associates, pure devotees, are also perfect. Here in this world, there are degrees and sometimes more good, sometimes more bad, like this. But perfection is at all time also always existing. So we have to think of them and connect with them through service, then there will be no discouragement, because Krishna is all good. He's taking care of all this world for eternal benefit of all. He's taking care. He's doing that. We have to surrender to his will and see, then we cannot be discouraged, because he's doing for the good of all. Consequently, the perfect personality is addressed in the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM as Vasudeva, or one who lives everywhere in full consciousness and in full possession of his, means H capital, complete energy, his complete energy. All of this is clearly explained in the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, and the reader has ample opportunity to study this critically. In the modern age, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM by practical demonstration. He was practical example of Bhagavatam. By his own example he was doing, and by his own example he was teaching others. Example is better than precept. If one does not practice himself, he may instruct many things to others, but that will have no actual effect. What I myself am practicing and established in that, even if I don't speak, only by doing, automatically others will also be inspired to accept and to do. But only by speaking, it will not work. It is easier to penetrate into the topics of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM through the medium of Sri Chaitanya's causeless mercy. Therefore, a short sketch of his life and precepts is inserted herein to help the reader understand the real merit of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. It is imperative that one learn the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM from the person Bhagavatam. Means pure, yes. The person Bhagavatam is one whose very life is SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM in practice. Since Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the absolute personality of Godhead, he is both Bhagavan and Bhagavatam in person and in sound. Krishna is Bhagavatam in the form of sound, and that sound is not different from him. And Bhagavata, devotee, is also not different from him, also transcendental worshipper. They all have unlimited qualities, no one can finish. So, therefore, his means Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's process of approaching the Srimad Bhagavatam is practical for all people of the world. It was his wish that the Srimad Bhagavatam be preached in every nook and corner of the world by those who happen to take their birth in India. It is in Chaitanya Charitamrita. One who took birth in India, he should first perfect his life by becoming pure devotee of Krishna. Then he should also help other countries. And Prithivite ache joto nagar adigram sarvatra prachar hoibe mor nam. How many villages, towns, cities, and every places in the world there are. Everywhere my name will be preached, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told. So name and Bhagavatam, they are not different. So because in the name, whole Bhagavatam is there. We don't believe. We think chanting is something, nothing substantial. We think I have to deity worship and this is so many things. We think that is more concrete, more substantial. But nothing is more substantial than chanting the name, but we are not realizing. There was one, because Jiva Goswami told, first you have to receive Harinam from pure devotee and chant without offenses. Then in sanctified heart, everything will be revealed from the name. His transcendental nature of the name, then form of Krishna, his unlimited qualities, his associates, dham, pastimes, everything is in the name. So, our Gurudev used to give example during the time of Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur. There was one Sajjanananda Brahmachari. Everyone used to call him Maharaj. Although he was not sannyasi, but he was good devotee, very sincere and devoted. He was the sevak of Prabhupada. So after 10 years of staying with Prabhupada, once he asked Prabhupada, I am serving you for 10 years, but I don't feel I got anything. Then when they heard this question, other disciples, they also came near to hear, because they also had this question in their heart, but they were afraid to ask. So now they all came to hear the reply. Then Prabhupada, with great surprise, he said, "You did not receive Harinam?" I said, "Yes, I received Harinam." Then Prabhupada said, "Then you got everything. Harinam is everything. Harinam is Hari, everything. But we are not realizing. We can realize if we sincerely devote ourselves to the service of the name and Vaishnavas, Bhagavatam, all this, then when we will purify our heart and then realization will start to come. Then you will understand. Harinam is everything. The SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is the science of Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, of whom we have preliminary information from the text of the Bhagavad Gita. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that anyone, regardless of what he is, who is well versed in the science of Krishna, means Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, can become an authorized preacher or preceptor in the science of Krishna. When Raya Ramananda told to Mahaprabhu, "No, I am just ordinary Shudra, fallen soul," because Mahaprabhu expressed desire to hear about Krishna from him. Then devotees are always naturally humble. So I am just a Shudra, I don't know anything. Then Mahaprabhu said that verse, "Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Shudra Kenanoy. Jai Krishna Tattva Veta, say Guru Hoy." One may be sannyasi, one may be Brahmin, or one may be Shudra, or whatever. It doesn't matter. One who knows the science of Krishna, one who knows Krishna personally, he can be Guru or preacher. He can speak about Krishna. And later in Chaitanya Charitamrita we saw that Mahaprabhu told to Kurma Vipra, he was a household devotee, to become Guru. First, he should always chant Harinam all the time. Means be established in devotion to Krishna, eternal devotion to Krishna. Then on his order, he should become Guru and deliver that land. And also the same he told to Vasudeva Vipra. Also, he was, but he had leprosy, so his family, they threw him out. But he was also not sannyasi. Raya Ramananda was not a sannyasi, household. So, and some are sannyasis. Nityananda Prabhu was everything. Nityananda Prabhu can accept everything for the service. First he was avadhut, not caring for anything. Then Mahaprabhu sent him to preach together with Haridas Thakur from door to door. At that time they were in the dress of sannyasis. Jagai Made, they saw, no, they are sannyasis. And later on, when Mahaprabhu settled in Puri and devotees were coming, and when Mahaprabhu entered into his more internal bhajan, then he ordered Nityananda Prabhu to go and preach in Bengal and to get married. So he was everything in one life, serving in every possible way. Then he married Janama Boshuda and had children also. And he was preaching all the time. So the point is, one, and even lady also can be. There's Janava Hemalata Thakurani and Ganga Mata Goswamini. Now Jai Shri Devi. They can also, one who knows, in ISKCON they are also now allowed to initiate. Regardless of what he is, who is well versed in the science of Krishna, can become an authorized preacher or preceptor in the science of Krishna. There is a need for the science of Krishna in human society for the good of all suffering humanity of the world, and we simply request the leaders of all nations to pick up the science of Krishna for their own good, for the good of society and for the good of all the world's people. Because all jivas, they are suffering due to this reason, due to forgetting Krishna, their eternal relation with Krishna, and wanting to enjoy this Maya, getting false ego, false desires, and all suffering and quarreling and all this is due to this only. So if one can become Krishna conscious, then he will not have any other desires and he will love all living entities. Then there can be actual real peace and happiness. There is no any other solution possible for getting actual abiding peace and happiness except Krishna consciousness. But not all will accept, because this is prison house. We want to enjoy. So some jivas, they're in that phase, they want to enjoy everything. So when they are in that phase, they will not be interested. But only when they will, by good fortune, gather enough sukriti and will get sadhu sangha, then they will become interested. So sometimes there are more like this in the world, sometimes less. So we should not be discouraged. We have to do our own duty. And then how it is arranged that Krishna is taking care. Prahlad was one devotee, fully surrendered, one devotee, all other demons. But he had no problem, because he was always in connection, in relation with Krishna and his personal associates. So he had no problem. So the thing is not about the mass or so many or like this. Thing is about quality. We have to surrender to Krishna and receive his grace, then there will be no problem. Not by wishing this and that and so many things, then it would be easy and wish I would be all these things. No, our only wish should be, Krishna, I want you, I want your service. Then Krishna will come and there will be no problem, and his devotee will come. Dhruva was alone in the forest, and Krishna came in the form of Narad to the forest. They are everywhere and they can appear everywhere. They are within also. So the problem is with me, not with the environment. Problem is with me that I am not interested in Krishna. Service of him, not to exploit him. If I have desire to exploit Krishna, then I cannot have any contact with Krishna. He is not the object to be exploited. We can exploit only lower energy from us, not superior. So we can have contact with real Krishna only through service. So all the leaders should pick up this, but unfortunately it is not happening. They are picking up more and more cheating and deceiving and exploiting and these things, because it is Kali Yuga. So they are going in more into, in a hidden way they try to cheat. In the past, at least, they were leaders and they were openly doing, but now everything is hiddenly they are doing. Not thinking about the welfare of the people, but their own money and position and power and these things. A short sketch of the life and teachings of Lord Chaitanya, the preacher of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great apostle of love of God and the father of the congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord, advented himself at Sri Dham Mayapur, a quarter in the city of Navadip in Bengal, on the Falguni Purnima evening in the year 1407 Shakabda, that is Bengali, corresponding to February 1486 by the Christian calendar. His father, Sri Jagannath Mishra, a learned Brahman from the district of Sylhet, came to Navadip as a student because at that time Navadip was considered to be the center of education and culture. He domiciled on the banks of the Ganges after marrying Srimati Sachi Devi, a daughter of Sri Nilambar Chakravarti, the great learned scholar of Navadip. Jagannath Mishra had a number of daughters by his wife, Srimati Sachi Devi, and most of them expired at an early age. Two surviving sons, Sri Vishwarup and Vishwambhar, became at last the object of their parental affection. The 10th and youngest son was named Vishwambhar, later became known as Nimai Pandit, and then, after accepting the renounced order of life, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his transcendental activities for 48 years and then disappeared in the year 1455 Shakabda at Puri. For his first 24 years, he remained at Navadip as a student and householder. His first wife was Srimati Lakshmi Priya, who died at an early age when the Lord was away from home due to separation grief. When he returned from East Bengal, he was requested by his mother to accept a second wife, and he agreed. His second wife was Srimati Vishnu Priya Devi, who bore the separation of the Lord throughout her life because the Lord took the order of sannyas at the age of 24 when Srimati Vishnu Priya was barely 16 years old. After taking sannyas, the Lord made his headquarters at Jagannath Puri due to the request of his mother, Srimati Sachi Devi. The Lord remained for 24 years at Puri. For 6 years of this time, he traveled continuously all over India and especially throughout southern India, preaching the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM or Harinam Sankirtan. Harinam Sankirtan and SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM are same because the point of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM is Nama Sankirtan. Lord Chaitanya not only preached the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM but propagated the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita as well in the most practical way. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Shri Krishna is depicted as the absolute personality of Godhead, and his last teachings in that great book of transcendental knowledge instruct that one should give up all the modes of religious activities and accept him, Lord Shri Krishna, as the only worshipable Lord. The Lord then assured that all his devotees would be protected from all sorts of sinful acts and that for them there would be no cause for anxiety. Mashucha, don't worry. Unfortunately, despite Lord Shri Krishna's direct order and the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Less intelligent people misunderstand him to be nothing but a great historical personality, and thus they cannot accept him as the original personality of Godhead. Such men with a poor fund of knowledge are misled by many non-devotees. Thus, the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita were misinterpreted even by great scholars. After the disappearance of Lord Shri Krishna, there were hundreds of commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita by many erudite scholars, and almost every one of them was motivated by self-interest. Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the self-same Lord Shri Krishna. This time, however, he appeared as a great devotee of the Lord in order to preach to the people in general, as well as to religionists and philosophers, about the transcendental position of Shri Krishna, the primeval Lord, and the cause of all causes. The essence of his preaching is that Lord Shri Krishna, who appeared at Brajabhumi, means Vrindavan, as the son of the king of Braja, Nanda Maharaj, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is therefore worshipable by all. Vrindavan Dham is not different from the Lord. That is why we cannot enter into Vrindavan Dham with physical body, with false ego. Impossible. Only in spiritual body you can actually enter into Vrindavan. When you are inclined to serve Krishna, then you can get entrance, because Vrindavan is transcendental, superior to us. Only through surrender we can get admission, not by buying ticket. Or it may be possible Ravan also wanted to make stairs to come to heaven, to heavenly plans. That is okay, because it is still part of material world. But even to that, you need so many pious activities to reach there. But for Vrindavan, you need devotion to Krishna. Lord, because the name, fame, form, and place where the Lord manifests himself are all identical with the Lord as absolute knowledge. Therefore, Vrindavan Dham is as worshipable as the Lord. The highest form of transcendental worship of the Lord was exhibited by the damsels of Brajabhumi in the form of pure affection for the Lord, and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends this process as the most excellent mode of worship. He accepts the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM Puran as the spotless literature for understanding the Lord. In other scriptures, there is some spot in the form of gradual installments of the truth and some baits and all these things. But Bhagavatam is spotless. Everything is perfectly truth, pure. And he preaches that the ultimate goal of life for all human beings is to attain the stage of prema, or love of God. This is that verse written by Sri Nath Chakravarti. That Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajesha Tanaya Tadhama Vrindavan, and then that verse Brajavadu Bharganas Jakalpita. Generally nowadays they are saying Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as the author of that verse, but it is not he. Sri Nath Chakravarti. He was one of the earliest commentators of Bhagavatam. That is not so known. So in that commentary, he wrote that verse, that Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajesh, the worshipable is Nandananda Krishna, and as him worshipable Vrindavan is worshipable, and the highest mode of worship is that of gopis, and you will find evidence in Bhagavatam. And the highest goal of life is that Pancham Purushartha, that is Krishna Prema, fifth goal, not Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, but Prema, Krishna Prema. This is the teaching of Mahaprabhu, and we are not accepting anything else. Sri Nath Chakravarti, not Vishwanath Chakravarti. His commentary, Sri Nath Chakravarti's commentary is called Chaitanya Manjusa something. Many devotees of Lord Chaitanya like Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, Sri Lochan Das Thakur, Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, Sri Kavi Karnapur, Sri Prabodhananda Saraswati, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, and in this later age, within 200 years, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti, Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan, Sri Shyamananda Goswami, Sri Narottam Das Thakur, Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and at last Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, our spiritual master, and many other great and renowned scholars and devotees of the Lord have prepared voluminous books and literatures on the life and precepts of the Lord. Such literatures are all based on the Shastras like the Vedas, Puranas, Upanishads, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and other histories and authentic literatures approved by the recognized acharyas. They are unique in composition and unrivaled in presentation, and they are full of transcendental knowledge. Like Rupa Goswami had certain things to do, Mahaprabhu ordered him about devotion, he should explain, and about rasas. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Ujjal Nilamani, and Sanatan Goswami had to compile Vaishnav Smriti, that is Hari Bhakti Vilas, and he also gave Bhakti Siddhanta in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, how different types of devotions are there. And Jiva Goswami also wrote many things, and Sanatan Goswami wrote commentary to Bhagavatam. Jiva Goswami also wrote commentary to Bhagavatam, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur later. Baladev Vidyabhushan wrote to Vedanta Sutra and to Upanishads. So all they were ordered by Mahaprabhu what they have to do. So they did, and through Haridas Thakur he preached Nama Sankirtan. So they gave evidences from all different scriptures to prove the teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to give evidence about pure devotion and highest type. Especially Jiva Goswami, he quoted so much and he wrote so much and very clearly, but he did. We should not think Jiva Goswami only will read Jiva Goswami. We have to read Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, all they were ordered by Mahaprabhu. But the point is that after their disappearance and them, then darkness arose. Darkness came on the horizon of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So many pseudo-sects cropped up. They were claiming we are preaching the message of Mahaprabhu. They were doing just the opposite. Immoral activities, lustful activities, exploiting in the name of prema, in the name of love. So educated people, they lost faith in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, seeing them. If this is the teaching, immoral character of Mahaprabhu, then we reject. So seeing that sad plight, and our Gurudev explained why this happened. How is it possible? All the books of the Goswamis were there. Jiva Goswami, all. Chaitanya Bhagavat was there, Vrindavan Das Thakur, Kaviraj Goswami Chaitanya Charitamrita was there, Bhagavatam was there. Everything, all books were there. Because you cannot understand these books with intellect. Only through submission, through surrender, with service attitude, then you can understand. Otherwise not. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had to again send his own persons, those who are surrendered devotees. They know what is the teaching, they know what is the real meaning, and by their life they are doing. So he sent Bhaktivinoda Thakur Prabhupada. So you will find in the one interview, Prabhupada, someone was asking about Jiva Goswami and these books, and he was reading, and then Prabhupada explained that Siddhanta of Jiva Goswami and Baladev Vidyabhushan is totally the same. There is no difference. But it is not so easy to understand. So if you want to know the actual Siddhanta of Jiva Goswami and Baladev Vidyabhushan, Vishnu Chabra Thakur, in very clear and simple language. Now, in this age, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur spoke the same thing. There is no difference between them. Some are trying to see some difference, but that is lack of their realization of the actual truth. But there is no difference. It is very clearly in Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, Gurudev directly told me once that you need not read many things. If you read Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books, you will get everything. Totally everything. He's not ordinary person. He's a Kamala Manjari coming from Polok and sent, and he collected everything of the Goswamis, of Chaitanya, everything he presented in a very clear way. For what is relevant, everything you will get, and you have to practice. Then you can realize. Not just by reading and speculating, imagining like this. You have to practice, then you will realize. You will get the fruit. Otherwise, just by reading and this, you will not get actual fruit. Only your pride will be there, but you cannot get. So, he told, although Bhaktivinoda Thakur is Kamala Manjari, he's a perfect, but he also played this pastime, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He did not write from his own mind. He was waking up. He used to take rest in the evening, and then he would wake up in the night and he would chant Harinam without offenses, purely chanting Harinam. Then what was revealed in his heart as a realization, transcendental realization, that he wrote down. He was chanting, and something, a realization, revelation came. He was doing this pastime. So that he wrote. He did not write by thinking and imagine. No. Directly a realization he wrote. So Gurudev told me, you read Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books. You get everything. because he collected all of Rupa Goswami. You will find in Jaiva Dharma about Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Journey Lamani, about the philosophy of Upanishads, and everything you will find, all based on Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, all is there. And Chaitanya Shikshamrita, these books. In Harinam Chintamani, you will get the teaching of Haridas Thakur. Very nice. Whole book. Haridas Thakur is speaking to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about Nama Sankirtan and all this. Now during Kartik, we will read Bhajan Rahasya. He revealed how everything is in Shikastaka. All Shastras, everything. He collected all the evidences from all Shastras to show everything is in Shikastaka. And one who will practice this Shikastaka, he can realize Ashtaka Lila described in Govinda Lilamrita. Eightfold daily pastimes of Radha Krishna will be revealed to a person who will practice Shikastaka. So who can say this? One who is realized soul. So they prepared voluminous books and literatures. They did. And we got from Bhaktivinoda Thakur in clear language. And once we can understand by the grace of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and by the grace of practice, then we can also properly understand Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, all those. Otherwise, if you go by intellect, then you will get wrong thing. So tomorrow is the appearance day of Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Gosai Maharaj. You will hear about him. And on Friday, I think I will start that preparation for Kartik so that we can nicely, without hurry, go through all the practices and points for Kartik Brata and in that Kartik handbook, so that there is enough time. On 6th, at least our math starts on Ekadashi. Other maths generally on Purnima, but we start on Ekadashi on 6th October, so that is why.